boy, look what we just got from Signature Solar. Today we're going to be talking about the new Victron inverters. Hey everyone, welcome back to One Strange Adventure. Welcome to the next video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about our inverters, something that's been weighing on my mind since we installed this system. And I know we've installed a couple now, but hey, we're just going to keep tweaking it until we have the perfect system, and that's my goal. I can tweak so that you don't have to. So today we're going to talk about what system we have. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, that way you don't miss the next couple of videos. And yeah, let's get going. Now, before we get too deep into the comparison, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors of today's video. That is Signature Solar. You guys have been amazing to work with. They have a team of experts. If you want a system like ours, or just something you can go out a little bit in, it doesn't have to be this full setup. They have the people there that you can speak to make sure you get what you need. So make sure you click the link in the description and go check out Signature Solar. Okay, so let's talk about what we have today. The system that's sitting right behind me right here. We have two inverters. So each of them are 48 volt, 3000 VA. And what that means is VA is like a real power scale. So you get about 2400 watts in each of them. It is not 3000 watts each. You get about 2400 watts. It can surge a little bit higher than that, but to sustain, you're gonna get about 2400 watts. Which is one of the reasons that we're going to be upgrading. Battery wise, we have the trusted EG4s. They are 48 volt, 100 amp hours each. That's equivalent to 1600 amp hours if I was doing a 12 volt system. So just to kind of give you a comparison, that's a lot of juice there. They have worked flawlessly. And one of the great things about these batteries is that, one, they're server racks, so I can mount them pretty much however I want except for face down. Two, they have fire suppression built in because they have to adhere to residential and commercial requirements, and part of that is to have a fire suppression. So if something was to happen, the lithium starts to run away, heat up, or anything like that, it has a little thing inside, it'll pop, it's going to take its battery out. I would rather have a battery be taken out than my entire rig. You'll see that we have the Lynx distributors and a Lynx shunt. We have a servo with a servo screen. I still haven't ran the screen to where I want to inside. I just haven't figured that out yet. We'll figure it out soon. But today, the main character is these inverters. All right, while we talk about these inverters, I'm gonna do a little bit of a comparison. Why did I switch from a 12 volt to a 48 volt system to begin with? Well, one, the system is much more efficient. And so what I mean by that is it charges faster, and it takes less energy, creating less heat to actually run things. So I can tell you, like, after running ACs and a lot of appliances, microwave, things like that, I've never felt the cables get warm. So that's one really cool thing, is because the higher the voltage, the less the amps that are running through there. And so that's why they actually charge a little bit faster, is because it is creating more power with less amps. And so you can charge up to 35 amps-ish. I think I have ours set at 40 amps, so between solar, shore power, and all that, it'll charge you like 40 amps. So if you multiply that by 4, at a 12 volt system, you're looking at like 160 amps. That's what it would take to get the same amount of charge for the 48 volt system. So way more efficient. So that's one of the reasons we went with the 48 volt system. The other thing is that you can actually use smaller cables because of that. I stuck with the cables that I already had for my 12 volt system just because I had them, but if I wanted to downsize and save money on copper, I could have done that if I was just kind of building the system from scratch. But I didn't have to because I had all the cables. I basically just swapped out my inverters, which we're going to do again. Now, I mentioned that we have the two Victron inverters, and they are 3000 VA, which gives you 2400 watts per leg. So let's talk about why we would need more than that. Most of the time we don't, but There are instances where we would love to be able to have a little bit more flexibility in our system. One, because they're 48 volt, they don't make a 2x120, so I can't parallel them. That means I have to run them in split phase to be able to cover both legs in the RV. That means I have 2400 watts dedicated to one leg and 2400 watts dedicated to the other. I don't have a pool of 4800 watts to be able to just kind of pull from wherever needed. We want to upgrade that. And let me give you an example. Our middle AC runs at about 1300 watts. Our front ACs run at about 1100 watts, and the garage AC runs at about 1100 watts. However, the front AC and the garage AC are on the same leg. That means that's 2200, 2300 watts by itself. That means there can be nothing else on that leg in order for that inverter to work. Well, we have the refrigerator running, we have stuff plugged in, like there are other things on that side of the panel that are always going to be running that we can't turn off. So right there, we're already over the 2400 watts that that inverter can handle. We don't always want to have to run the middle AC and the front AC, because like when we're boondocking or just staying one night somewhere, we want to be able to run the two where the sleeping areas are. So back in the back where the kids are, in the front where we are. That would make more sense at nighttime when we're sleeping, but we can't do that right now. So with these new inverters, we can get 4000 watts per leg. That means 8,000 watts total. Now, if we're upgrading our inverters, let's talk about why we stuck with Victron. Again, there's definitely some pros and cons to Victron. Victron is reliable, it's well known. You have a big community that supports that all across the world. I believe it's a European company, so like it's global. You can pretty much find the answer to anything. Programming is pretty flexible, so there's a lot of options that you can look at when you're actually programming these inverters or the system. The other piece of that is that you get real-time monitoring, which you can do with other systems too, but Victron has a pretty nice app and it's pretty user-friendly as long as you have a servo or something that's connecting it to the internet. Now let's talk about the cons of the Victron equipment. So Victron is pricey. There's no doubt about it. They're pretty expensive when you start looking at other inverters, but I think the price is there at that point because of the flexibility that you have and the reliability that you have, but they are pricey. So one of the pros to that is that you can kind of piece things together. You don't have to buy it all at once. The con obviously is you're going to spend more money over time to build out the Victron system. Talking back to that point of buying the different components, it's not like a plug-and-play system. There's no all-in-one where you're going to get everything and you're going to have your inverters, your solar, and everything, like the EG4 that we tested out. That was really nice. However, this one you kind of have to piece together, and what that means is more cable management, more chances for error, frankly, if you don't know what you're doing. And you just got to make sure that you are on top of your game and you're checking every single connection 3 times minimum. I look at the configuration as a pro. Other people might look at the configuration availability as a con, right? Maybe I just want to be able to plug it in and go. But with this, you got to do a little tinkering with the computer. So that could be a pro or a con with the Victron equipment. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of the new inverters. We'll start with the pros. They're way bigger. Instead of 2400 watts, we get 4000 watts per leg. And that means I don't have to worry about putting them in parallel. I can run them in split phase and have all the power I need, especially when I'm boondocking. I don't necessarily have enough solar to cover 8,000 watts, right? There's not many RVs out there, if there are any, that have enough solar out there to cover 8,000 watts. But I don't need all of the power all of the time. I just want flexibility of being able to choose what I turn on and off without having to turn something off when I want to run the microwave or the coffee pot or something like that. It can handle that surge and then start charging back up once that thing goes off. I want to be able to have that flexibility. And this is kind of future-proofing our system, so this is... I probably said this before, but this is the last upgrade for a while. But if we wanted to add more solar on there and be able to run more things, you know, for a longer period of time, we now have the inverters to do it. So kind of future-proofing the system too. At least that's the logic I'm telling myself. All right, so let's talk about some cons of the bigger inverters. One, they're bigger, so they're going to take up more space. You got to figure out where you're going to put them. Good thing is the space that we have our inverters today, there's enough space to just go ahead and put them exactly where they're at. So really for me, it's just taking those inverters out, plugging the new ones in, programming them, and just mounting them in basically in the same way. They're just going to take up more of that wall where they're currently hanging. But with them being bigger, they're also heavier. So the components to be able to handle more wattage is going to create more weight. So they are a little bit heavier. I think the inverters that we have today are close to like 40 pounds a piece. I'll put the stats here on the screen. The new inverters are more like 60, 65 pounds a piece. So they are a little bit heavier. I actually picked them up. I was actually surprised that I was like preparing for like those batteries that we have. They're 100 pounds a piece. So that's a lot of weight. I was preparing like to kind of pick those things up, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So that was good. Now with the new inverters, obviously if you're changing from something other than Victron and you're keeping the same configuration, same system, and we already have oversized wires, so I'm not worried about going up in wire size or anything like that. But if you had to do all that, do fuses, things like that, it could be that a con to changing to these new inverters is that you have to change all of that out to go along with it and be able to handle that new amount of power that you're going to be pushing into the RV. But thankfully we don't have to do that, but just something else to consider if you're thinking about upgrading to these new inverters. All right, well, that's why we're upgrading to these new inverters. I think next what we're going to do is we're going to go out, we're going to take a look at the inverters that I currently have, and then we're going to unbox a new inverter and kind of set it up and give you a quick comparison. Next week, we're going to be installing these new inverters. So that will be me taking the old ones off, putting the new ones in its place, and then showing you guys how I'm programming it as well. It's not a how-to video, so I'm not going to give you step-by-step of what I'm doing, but I'll give you a general idea of how or the process that I'm going to go through in order to upgrade these inverters. So let's pray it all goes right. I'm sure it will. I think for now what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to unbox one of these because I haven't even seen it, and we're going to take a look and see what we got. Boy, oh boy, I hope they're smaller than the box. I'm sure they're styrofoam on the top and bottom, but yeah. Let's get that bad boy open. Trigger alert, I'm going to use scissors to open the box. Wasn't that satisfying? First look. Ooh. Ah. Oh yeah. This is going to be perfect. Oh boy. Yeah, they're way bigger. That's gonna be fun. There's the 3000 VAs and there's the 5000 VA. Woo! Another trigger alert. Oh, the pretty blue. Alright, well that does it for this week's video. Make sure you tune in next week to check out how we install these things. Yeah, they're big. Getting it in the space and seeing it next to the other inverters is totally different. So we're gonna see how this goes. I might have to move some things around. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, well, I'll catch you next week. Till next strange adventure, keep making your own.